All right. Oh, now we have like the crazy sock channel war here. Our Holy Father, I have listened to your vlog and thought deeply and have a question. What does your head look like without the fez? If you've watched more of my videos, you would see what my head looks like without a fez. And then we've got this guy, Nazi Jew 666. Yeah, right. Sometimes senses of humor are pushed. They're pushed out there, aren't they? Why do you harass this innocent child? You better worry about what your radiated soul is going to look like in the deepest pit of hell. 2012, and I'll be waiting. Yeah, there's that whole other thing. The year 2012, what does it mean? Radkill, hey, thanks for the advice on cheap computers. Running, I don't know, he's got some good stuff to say about technology. And that's one of the small areas, but it kind of applies to everything, cars, everything. Just build stuff to last. Actually, they do build cars to last better, in a way. They do. Kamikaze Kowalski says that debt bomb is in play. Thanks, Gina the Hitman. He said he started working on a bluesy Fez theme song, but it was interrupted by the angry dummy beating on my door, begging for cans of Hormel chili. Damn dummies. All right, thanks for hanging in there while I read all the while I went over the comments. And I want to thank Methadone for Life and Only When Provoked and Nigel Cromwell, Witsky Man. And Belton Babe said, hey, I knew I was going to like you. Really looking forward to the next one. And yeah, there almost wasn't one. And Pop Arts Productions. Great Fez Night, CK as always. The real Pop's here, not the copycat jerk that has nothing better to do than leave idiotic comments in my name. I didn't see him anywhere on Fez Night, so I don't know. I don't know, Pops. Orange Caesar, thanks. Thanks for stopping by. Hux Infantry. He says, everyone loves to hate the Republicans by name, but really underneath this hard metallic exterior are a bunch of teddy bears. Yeah, what about Dick Cheney, though? He's no teddy bear. Oh. We have a two-party system, and I can't totally hate Republicans. I really can't. Bear with me, Methadone for Life. They sure make me angry. This stuff with the stimulus bill, and it's not that I want them to get in line and go along lockstep, but it just seems like the party of no. I don't know. It's my own perspective on that. All right, let's wrap this up. But I want to talk about two things, okay? The book review paper, the book review section of the LA Times today had this thing here. Look, Charles Darwin. The Evolution of Darwin. And some books have come out about him. Thank God for Evolution, which is interesting. It's a religious man and his wife, evangelical types. I'm just going to go over this, paraphrase it. I read it this morning. My memory's gobbled everything up by now. But he talks about Charles Darwin and how he learned. Basically, he's a religious man that's got this like silly way of trying to indoctrinate other evangelicals to accept evolution. That evolution is part of God's plan, and I say anything to get the religious right, to embrace science is a good thing. Now that we've got Obama in office, he said in his inaugural speech about science being taken seriously, because Bush really was an anti-science administration. And another book called Evolution, Only a Theory, Darwin's Sacred Cause, and Darwin. And one thing that was interesting about Darwin that I didn't know, or maybe it was mentioned but I forgot, but is how he was tied into abolition. That he saw in his travels how slaves were treated in the ports that he visited, and saw in South America in a dictator in South America, General Juan Manuel de Rosas, a perfect gaucho, grave, unsmiling, himself a torturer. This man in Rio de Janeiro looked at the natives as like something to be exterminated, like rats, and Darwin saw that was wrong. But then one of Darwin's contemporaries, a Louis Agassiz, Swiss-born Harvard biologist, became a fierce antagonist of Darwin's And this man argued a scientific racism, or he assigned racism to God. And he had this theory that actually was embraced by the Southern Confederacy, many of the thinkers, the intellectuals there in the South, right prior to the Civil War. And it was pretty interesting. This guy was the first time he laid eyes on a person of color, a dark person, an African or a South American, he was repulsed. It talks here that he said, and when they put their hideous hand on my plate in order to serve me, I wished I were able to distance myself in order to eat my morsel of bread elsewhere. So here's a man who just flipped out the first time he met a person or people of color. I don't know, where does racism come? I think, well, I've heard this theory. It comes out of fear. If you fear a group, prejudice, the fear that hatred is based in fear. Yeah, interesting. Interesting to know the psychology of a person that just immediately, first time sees a person of color, is just repulsed or is scared. But it was interesting that it said that I kind of assumed, I never really thought of Darwin as an atheist. I thought he lived in a society that there were a lot of Christians, and I guess he knew well enough not to talk about stuff that would upset religious people. But apparently his wife was a believer, but he himself was an atheist. But anyway, I thought this thing on Darwin is interesting, especially his views on animal. Later in life, he couldn't hunt or fish anymore. He had a real sensitivity about nature and animals, and I don't know if he became a vegetarian or anything like that, but.